Welcome to another video where we are continuing our series on data structures, and today we'll be going over stacks. So let's jump straight into this. What is a stack data structure? Stack is a last in first out data structure, and what that means is that the first element that will be inserted will be the last one out, and vice versa. You can think of stack like a stack of books, where elements are added and removed from one end, which is called top of the stack. So let's do an example. Now, my all-time favorite movie and book series is Lord of the Rings. So let's simulate and build a stack of these books in order, from the first book to the last. So this is what we want our stack to look like, where the first book on top of the stack would be Hobbit, followed by Fellowship of the Ring, Two Towers, and Return of the Kings. So let's build this stack. So to define the stack, we just call the stack class, which is part of the Java util package. And we are storing string types. And let's call this book stack. LOTR. Now to add element to the stack, we use this push method, and the first element we want to add is Return of the King. So now this element is on top of our stack, and the next element we want to add to this stack is Two Towers. So now Two Towers become top of our stack. Let's add the other two books. So let's print the stack out. Alright, so these are our four elements inside our stack. Now, the first element on top of our stack is not Return of the King, it's actually the Hobbit, and we can find that out. So we have this peek method, so let's print that out. So in our stack, we have this method called peek, and this returns us the top element on top of our stack. So if I run this, we're going to get the Hobbit out. Alright, there you go. So this is the top element on top of our stack. Now, if you want to remove an element from a stack, we have this pop method. And the way it works is when I call the pop, it's going to first remove this Hobbit. And then if I call pop again, then it's going to remove Fellowship of the Ring, and then so on. So let's try to do that. So let's remove the top element on our stack, and we just call this pop method. That's it. And if I'm going to run this again, we're not going to have Hobbit anymore. And let's do a peek as well. So now the top element of our stack is Fellowship of the Ring. Let me comment this out. All right, there you go. So you can see the Hobbit was removed from our stack, and the top element became Fellowship of the Ring. Now, if I do the same thing, let's pop Fellowship of the Ring out. Actually, let's pop two books out. And let's do a peek again. So this time, we pop two books out, and we're going to get Return of the King as our last element inside our stack. All right, there you go. So the last element on our stack is Return of the King. So where else can we use stacks, or the real-world implementations of it? Stacks are used for function calls. Every time you call a function or method, it gets placed on top of the stack. I did a video on this where I explained the Java and Python memory model and showed how function calls are placed on top of the stack. You guys can check that video out if you are interested in how the memory model of Java or Python works. Recursion is another example of how stacks are used. It is an important concept in programming, and recursion has its benefits, but we have to be very careful with it, as there's a danger of running into stack overflow exception, where the stack runs out of memory. Another example of stack can be if you want to get elements in reverse order. We can use a stack for it. So let's do a quick example for it. So let's say we have a stack that has 5 integers from 1 to 5. Let's print that out in reverse order. Okay, so let's start printing this in reverse order. So to do that, we're going to start popping these numbers out. All right, so basically what's happening here is we're going to start iterating through the stack and start popping out each element. So every time we pop, it's going to remove the element from the stack. And we're going to keep on doing this until the stack is empty. So let's run this. All right, there you go. So you can see we're getting the numbers in reverse order. We went from 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So there are a bunch of use cases for a stack. For example, if you want to build an undo functionality, we can use a stack, as it keeps tracks of the last item that was inserted. This is pretty much it for a stack data structure. To recap, stack is a last in first out data structure. To add an element to a stack, we use a push method, and to remove the element from the stack, we use a pop method. We can add or remove from one end of the stack, and if you want to see the top element of the stack, we use a peek method. Hopefully this video helped you all understand stack and some of the use cases for it. And if it did, please subscribe to the channel. I have a bunch of videos planned out for the next few months, and soon we'll be doing some cool projects. And until then, I will see you all in the next video, where we will go over the Q data structure.